Hello children, today I bring to you a new story called Sophie in Toyland. Sophie was very sad. She couldn't find Peter the panda anywhere. He was her favorite toy and she took him to bed every night. It wasn't long to bedtime and Sophie didn't know how she'd get to sleep without him. Sophie sat on Beauty, her rocking horse, and rocked sadly, backwards and forwards. As her eyes filled with tears, something, she didn't know what, made her rock faster than ever before. She closed her eyes. There was a tremendous whistling in her ears. The next minute, she was tumbling, head over heels, through the air, then floating gently down to land on something soft. Sophie blinked her eyes. Where was she exactly? "Hello, Sophie," growled a voice from above her head. She opened her eyes and looked up. The legs of a bed, her bed, towered above her. It must have grown. Peeping over the edge of a duvet was Big Ted. Next to him was Little Ted. "Hello, Sophie," squeaked Little Ted. Her teddies were talking. Sophie looked around her. She was tiny. "Help!" she gulped. "I'm tiny. I've shrunk." Her eyes filled with tears. "Hello, Sophie. Welcome to Toyland," called a voice from across the room. It was Samantha, Sophie's doll. "You're as tall as I am," gasped Sophie. "I'm no bigger than my own doll. What's going on?" "Don't cry," said Samantha gently. "You're in Toyland, that's all. We're all little here. You'll grow big when Beauty takes you home again." Sophie turned her head. Beauty, now tiny just like her, was on the floor beside her. "Mind out below," cried Big Ted. "We're coming down," squeaked Little Ted. Big Ted tied one end of a cord to a bed knob and dropped the other end to the floor. It was the cord from Sophie's dressing gown. The bears climbed down it. "Let's call the other toys," suggested Samantha. "Wake up, everybody," she cried. Suddenly, all of Sophie's toys sprang to life. Sophie's tiniest dolls dashed out of the doll's house, and the toys that had been put into the toy box jumped down from it. "Let's play," suggested Big Ted. "This is fun," said Sophie as she played games with her toys. All her dolls and all her teddy bears were there. All of them except Peter the panda. "Where's Peter?" asked Sophie suddenly. They looked everywhere, but Peter the panda was nowhere to be found. They gazed at each other in dismay. Then Sophie heard a soft noise. Everyone stood still and listened. "Someone's calling," said the fairy doll, who had very good hearing. "It's coming from the top of the bookshelf," said Sophie. They crowded beneath the bookshelf. A tiny black and white head appeared over the top of it, high above them. It was Peter the panda. "I am stuck," he squeaked in a tiny voice. "Oh dear," said Sophie. "I must have put you there when I was told to tidy my room." "Please get me down," begged Panda. "But how?" asked Sophie. "The bookshelf is so high and we are so little." "I know a way," said Big Ted. He dashed off and came back pushing Sophie's toy fire engine. "We can use this," he panted. "What a good idea!" cried Sophie. She turned the handle on the fire engine side, and the ladder on top got longer and longer. It stretched higher and higher into the air, just the way a real fire engine's ladder goes, until the very top of it was resting against the bookshelf. "Now climb down, Peter," shouted Samantha. "Oh, I couldn't possibly," said Peter. "Don't worry," said Big Ted. "I'll get him down." He climbed up the ladder and lifted Peter onto his shoulders. Everybody cheered and clapped when Big Ted carried Peter safely to the ground. "Well done," said Sophie, hugging Big Ted and kissing his neck. Just then the clock on the bedroom wall went, "Cuckoo, cuckoo, 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 cuckoo." "Oh dear," said Sophie, "it's nearly time for bed. I have to go. Bye-bye, toys. Thank you for having me." "Goodbye," shouted the toys. "Please come again." Sophie climbed onto the back of a magic rocking horse and began to rock. The next second she was back in her bedroom, a big girl again. Big Ted and Little Ted were slumped at the bottom of the bed. The fire engine, with Samantha the doll leaning against it, was down on the floor. The rest of the toys were all back in their normal places. It seemed as though Sophie's adventure in Toyland had never happened, but the cord of her dressing gown was still dangling down the side of the bed, one end tied to the bed knob. And Peter the panda was lying safe on Sophie's pillow. Lucky Sophie had been to Toyland. She'd had a great adventure with all her toys, and she'd found Peter the panda too. Now she couldn't wait to go to bed and dream all about her wonderful adventure. Wasn't this a wonderful story, children? I hope you all enjoyed it. Goodbye and good night.